Up ahead of me is a mid-80s Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme Brougham, which was a mid-size car back then. I remember them when they were new. But I'm going to tell you a story about kind of a funny story, actually, from the town of Perth, where I lived for many years, where I grew up and where I lived. There he is, he's turning the corner. That was a mid-size car. It looks big by today's standards, but it was a mid-size car back then. Okay, here we go now. But I'll tell you the story anyway. I'll tell you the story about it. I remember at a local GM car dealership, General Motors car dealership, back in the, I would say, the mid-1990s. Back in the mid-1990s. Okay. At a local General Motors dealership back in the mid-1990s. I knew some of the mechanics that worked there. I knew a lot of mechanics back then. I had a lot of friends who were mechanics working on cars. And anyway, I knew this guy. I knew a few of them that worked at that dealership as mechanics. And they got this Cutlass Supreme Brougham in on trade, and it was in kind of rough shape. It was about 10 years old at that time. It was about the same age as that car that was just in front of me that I showed you. It was around a 1985 car, and this would have been around 1995. And so it wasn't worth a whole lot of money, but it ran good and everything, so the mechanics kept it as a running around car. Just a car to go and, you know, deliver parts, go pick up parts if they're for a job they were doing, or to, say, run a customer home, you know, after the customer left his car there with them to be fixed or whatever. Anyway, so they had this Cutlass Supreme Brougham, and it was a brown car. It was a brown colored car, very basic brown car. You know, it was a four-door car, and it was just like a beigey brown colored car, kind of a boring looking car. Anyway, here they had this car, and they were using it there, and of course at night they just parked it at the back of the lot. Well, one morning they came into work, and all the doors were missing off it. All 4 doors had been removed. It was sitting there with no doors on it. Somebody had come in the middle of the night and taken all the doors off the car. Well, here's the funny thing about this story. You know, this was a small town. And so, you know, it took a lot of nerve for this person to do what they did for this guy. But there was a guy in town who had a Cutlass Supreme Brougham that was actually the same color as the car that I just showed you. It was like a maroon or a maroon colored car, you know, like the one that was just ahead of me. It was identical to the one that was just ahead of me, actually. And all of a sudden, that car was being driven around town with brown doors. All 4 doors on it were brown. Just happened to coincide with those doors missing off that other car anyway. So of course everybody knew, you know, we all knew where those doors went. Anyway, I don't think anything ever came of it, but it was just kind of a funny, you know, we all knew. But it took a lot of nerve to do that, really, you know, for that guy to steal those doors and put them on his car. It really did. It took a lot of nerve. But some people have it, I guess, you know. Some people do have that much nerve. That fella did, anyway. But that's it. We'll see you later.